All right.
All right, so ready to start?
Yes.
Okay, let's dig into it. So the subconscious mind is the topic for today, yeah?
Yes.
All right, let's get into it.
All right. Good morning. Happy Wellness Wednesday. So last week we talked about, habit formation and, forming new habits and how, a lot of the times the habits that we have, whether they're good or bad, they pretty much control everything that we do. And we had the assignment to basically, how can we track what it is that we're doing, like to know how much of it that we're actually doing and, see where we need to make the change. So if you actually did that, and if you're doing that, you will start to notice that you might get a little frustrated. You might start to see that this might be a little bit difficult at first, starting out, because then you'll start to notice that it's almost like a shock to you to see how much of something that you do, you might not like it, like to notice that you're doing something so much and it's uncomfortable. So I want to really talk about the subconscious mind, because that's really like the driving force to why we do things. It kind of like, is us to make that change, like how we make the change to our habits by using our subconscious mind. And a lot of people don't really understand that, because our subconscious mind is just it's just there. Like, it's there. I was reading this book. It's called What You Say When You Talk to Yourself. And it really talks about like that self-talk. And we're going to talk about that too. That's going to be one of the sessions that we, start to get into at some point, like very soon. But one of the things that it talks about about subconscious mind is, as soon as you tell yourself this immediate thought, your subconscious mind just immediately goes right with it, and it's almost as if like, teaching yourself kind of like how to, for instance, like if you drive a certain route to work every day or home from work every day, like your mind, a lot of times, like, we don't need a GPS on how to get home from work, right? We just know to do that because our mind just stores that memory and stores that behavior. So we can literally get in the car, with our eyes closed, and drive home from work, and because our mind just knows to do that, So it's a habit, it's a habit that we know how to do. That's how our subconscious mind works. So we want to talk about that and how the subconscious mind and habits work together. But first, we talk about subconscious mind, but we also talk about conscious mind as well. So just to kind of give you an idea of what they both are, your conscious mind is really about your awareness of your environment, your emotions, your thoughts, and like your physical sensations of your body. And your unconscious mind really supplies any information that goes below the anywhere below like the current of anything that's below your current awareness. Okay. So when we talk about your subconscious mind, though, your subconscious mind holds any of your fears, your anxieties, memories, whatever you believe that's real. But your subconscious mind is very powerful, and it will bypass anything that you anything that you feel is aware of, that you're aware to.
Says you've cut out completely. So we can't hear you anymore. You want to come out and come back in?
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. We couldn't hear you before. Your audio was doing something funky. You want to go out and come back in, maybe see if that helps?
If you can hear me now, then if I go out and come back in, I don't know, like, what was the last thing you heard me say?
I'm not even sure. You were talking about the conscious mind, and then
Okay.
started saying something, and we couldn't hear anything.
Okay. Do you want me to leave and come back out?
Uh,
Or you
well,
want
you
me to
can try
just,
it. Let's try it. We can hear you now, so
okay.
let's try it now and see where we are.
So yeah, so I was just explaining the difference. Did you hear the difference between the subconscious mind and the conscious mind?
Yeah, what we heard was that the conscious mind was more in the physical,
Yep.
and then your subconscious mind was anything that was below your level of understanding. You had mentioned something like that, and then you said
Okay.
something else that we completely missed.
Right. So the subconscious mind is really about your fears, your anxieties, memories, and whatever you feel like is real to you. I was saying that it's very powerful that it can bypass your awareness to whatever it can bypass anything that you're aware to. So, for instance, if you feel like if you know that like if you're about to take a test and you know that you can pass the test by studying and you're aware of that and you know that, but then in the back of your mind or some part of you, like that fear and that anxiety, you feel like you're going to fail this test, and you say it out loud and you tell yourself, I'm going to fail this test, but you know that just by like knowing what you're aware of, that in order to pass a test, you got to study, you have to, apply yourself, you have to do certain study habits to perform a certain way to pass this test. But you also will still tell yourself, I'm going to fail this test. I have this, you have these anxieties, these fears that you're going to fail this test, and you'll do everything. And that's how a subconscious mind works, where it works more so in the fear. It believes more the fears and the anxieties. It's not going to believe the fact that you're going to pass the test based off the fact that you're studying for this test and based off the fact that you have these study habits. It's going to more so go towards the fears. It's going to work towards the fears and the anxieties. And on top of the fact that you're saying it, So as soon as you tell yourself, and this is what the subconscious mind, every time I think about this, I get mad because the subconscious mind is so powerful. So I could be sitting here studying for a test day by day and will sit here and still tell myself while I'm studying for the test, I'm gonna fail this test. I don't believe I'm going to pass this test. This test is too hard. So what does your subconscious mind believe? You're going to fail this test. You think this test is too hard. You're not going to pass this test. So despite the fact that I'm doing the behaviors of studying, I'm not studying with the intent of passing. I'm studying with the intent of failing. So that's how the subconscious mind works. It's so powerful that it's just storing more of my fears and my anxieties. It's not storing my, the thought of, oh, I want to pass the test, because I'm not telling myself that.
You can't train yourself though, right? To have more positive self-talk so that your subconscious mind is more positive, right? But we're just kind of hardwired for whatever reason as humans towards negativity. But that's why we're
going to talk about that negative self-talk. We're going to get into that.
Okay.
We can get there, but we want to start with this first. So in the coming weeks, we're going to talk about that, because I'm telling you that subconscious mind is so powerful and it controls our habits. And that's the thing, like the subconscious mind is so powerful that we believe it. We believe it, and we rather believe the negative stuff before believing the positive things, So then when we start, we think about like the law of attraction and things like that, what you say and believe and things like that. We know what that says. But we want to make sure that like the subconscious mind is doing what it's supposed to do in a positive way, because it's like a running program. It controls how we walk, how we sit, how we breathe, how we talk. Like it controls everything. It's information that's stored in your brain. So we want to make sure that information that is stored in your brain is information that is going to help change certain behaviors. So if you have, like we talked about last week, like those behaviors or those old habits or habits that you really want to change, what do I need to do so I can do that? So if you actually are doing, or if you haven't started doing the chart to track those behaviors, that's definitely something that you want to start doing. And then when you start doing that, you want to start writing down, and this is going to be, I'm telling you, I'm like moving like a step ahead, but you want to start writing down the thoughts that you have each day and each time, when, as you're going through changing these behaviors or tracking these, the behaviors that the habits that you're dealing with or struggling with, and trying to, make the change, for the simple fact that that's the issue right there. It's also the behavior, but it starts with the thought. It starts with the mind. It starts with your subconscious mind, because you have to remember the subconscious mind it's based off of memory as well. You have to change you have to change everything. Like, again, when I say that, when I go back to how, if you know the same route, like for instance, when I'm bringing my son to school, I literally drive the same way. Like, I can do it with my eyes closed as long as nobody else is on the road. I can do it with my eyes closed. But now, what if I had to go a different way? I now have to figure out, which other way to turn, like how to get around, like to go a different direction. And now I'm reprogramming my brain to do that. But as of right now, that my whole morning routine is a habit for me. If there was a part of my routine that was, interfering with like my growth, or interfering with the behaviors that was causing me to, shrink, or interfering with something that was getting in the way of what I need to really be doing, then I would have to change up something within my morning routine, or change up something within my route to get to my son's school, so that I can, make that change. So you want to think about that. And then that's why it's important to track those behaviors and track how many times you do certain things. And in tracking that, you want to, write down what it is that you're feeling. Like, how is that affecting your thought process? How is that affecting your feelings? How is that affecting your behaviors? Because they all work together,
I just looked up, because I thought that I knew the statistic, and that it was a high percentage, but it's even higher than I thought. The percentage of things that we do that are habit in nature is 95%, with only 5% being conscious.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So 95% of everything that we do every day is we're just going through the motions,
just going through
in there. But I think it's so interesting that, you're saying our subconscious mind skews to the negativity.
Yes.
So that's something that we really need to do the work, Dollar Girls Club members and folks who are following us, on YouTube or wherever they are accessing this video, are really doing the work to shift that, because really your subconscious mind seems like it's in the driver's seat.
It's the driver's seat. It is the like you're like, and it's so crazy, because we think that we driving. No, you're not driving. Like, you are not the driver. I'm sorry. You may look like you the driver, but you're not. It's really your subconscious mind. And even in the book that I was reading, what you say when you talk to yourself. And I actually encourage everybody to, that can be something too that could be a part of the book club too. I really encourage.
I was going to ask, should we put it on our book club list?
Yeah, I would definitely, because I love that book, and I really, I really want to talk about that, and it really has
on the book club list. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But he even says 70% of what we say to ourselves is negative. Like, I'm like, dang, like, so you mean to tell me that, like, and then when he said that, I started even doing a big evaluation of myself. Like, so, like, hold up, let me make sure I ain't say nothing let me make sure I ain't say nothing negative. From the time that I wake up to the time I go to sleep, you want to make sure. And it really, like, it's like checking yourself,
Yeah, it's so natural for us.
It's so natural for us to do that, because of that subconscious mind really just controls, like I said last week. So, I, like, when it comes to, like, running late, right? I was like, okay, I'm always 15 minutes late. Like, I got to figure this out. Because subconsciously, that's how I was like almost programmed. Like, I'm like, dang, I wake up early and I'm still late. What is going on? Like, because it was all part of a habit for me. Like, no matter, it's programmed. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I'm waking up early. I'm like, something in what I'm doing is not, something ain't right here. So like, what is it that I'm doing wrong? And we have to do that. We have to really take an evaluation of our life, our schedules, our, routines. Like, what's getting in the way? Is it your phone? Like.
Well, you hear that saying that's like, if you don't work to program yourself, somebody's going to program you.
Somebody's going to yes.
Somebody's going to program you. If you don't work to program yourself, somebody's going to program you. So you want to think like, where are these things coming from? We've been talking a lot about that too, right?
Right.
Like, where we start to get these habits, where they come from.
Right.
So I think like cannot overstate
right.
how important it is to be in the front of your own programming.
Right. Exactly. Right? Exactly. Yep. Because, it really just like, the thing about it is when you start to think about like the decisions that you make, the choices that you make, the thoughts that you have, like, and you notice that it's all based off of your subconscious mind, it will make you want to change it, like it makes you want to really, stop doing it. Even like something as simple as like I know, like for me, like I don't have them on now, but like I never even realized like biting my fingernails was so bad until somebody said it. And the guy said, he's like, "Are you hungry?" I'm like, "No, I'm not hungry." He said, "So why are you biting your fingernails?"
He said, "Are you hungry?"
I was like, "Ooh," like, but I'm like, I started to ask myself, like, is that a nerve thing? Like, what is that? Why? Why do I bite my fingernails? Like, I don't get it. So what I started to do is I started putting these nails on because I'm just like, because I know that if I have nails on, I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to bite my nails if I got these nails on.
But this is also a good opportunity to, take your own advice and do that exercise. When I bite my nails, what am I feeling?
Exactly. Right.
What are the things that are happening around me when I do this? If it is it your nerves? Are you just bored? Are you, what's the motivation behind it? Subconsciously, because consciously we're just like things. Like for me, right? I don't know how many other people do this, but when I'm on the phone, I can't stay still. Does that make sense?
I got you. Yes.
I gotta walk around. And I even try, like I've been trying for most of my life. I'm like, man, if I'm on the phone, let me just try to stay my butt down and just, I can't do it.
Right, exactly. Right. It's
really hard for me to, actually I shouldn't use the word can. We should just eliminate that out of the vocabulary.
No, don't worry, because we can work on that too when we start when we start getting into that self-talk. Oh, trust me, it's gonna be.
But even that is negative, right? Like, and you talking like I'm somebody who works on these things for myself, right? But it's like you constantly are checking yourself, constantly being a work in process, in progress, and in the process of changing these things because they're so natural, right? But everything that's natural ain't good for you,
right?
Oh man.
So, it's just important. Like we want to make sure. So that's why I said, while you're, I'm like really pushing to like making that tracker of like whatever that old, I'm saying the old habit because I want it to be an old habit for us. Whatever that old habit is, you really write it down. You track how many times you're doing it. And that's how you practice like that awareness, that self-awareness, because a lot of times people say, well, how do I even know if I don't even know when I'm doing these things? Well, when you make the tracker, and now that you make this tracker and you're like, okay, now I know that I made this tracker, I know that I have to be more aware of when I'm doing this. So like you just said, can't, like you just realize that you just said it, and so as soon as you do that, it's automatically, now you're like, oh, okay, wait, I just noticed that I did something. Let me write that down. Boom, just did that. So how does that make me feel? When I notice that I just said something that I'm trying to change, like, is that something is that like giving me anxiety? Is that making me feel like a little bit unsure of myself? You know what I mean? Like it's really important for us to figure that out because that the subconscious mind is really, making us, it houses that fear, it houses the anxiety, but the conscious mind is really where the emotions is at. That's where the emotions at. The emotions is going to help us understand why we are doing what we do,
And I find that that exercise that you're talking about is important. It was one of the ones that my therapist, and I know you are also a therapist, so this makes sense that you would be saying the same thing. But my therapist, one of them had me when I was working on controlling my anxiety attacks and like just managing all of those things. It was one of the things when you're having an anxiety attack, when you start to feel anxious, or when you're having write it down. What are you feeling? What are you and that kind of thing. Looking at it, it gave me a little bit of power in the situation, but it also helped me understand it, so that when I knew, like, okay, rationally I'm in this situation, just because I'm going through that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. So I could more easily come out of it because I was just kind of more aware. And then eventually that thing, I guess, through more exposure, right? And that's where the exposure therapy part comes into it. More exposure, I was just like, all right, I ain't worried about it. So, I'm doing this. Now, the next time that that I'm there, because I've learned, right? I've learned what this looks and feels like. Now I'm not having that subconscious response, and I'm not anxious anymore.
Exactly. You don't have the same emotions towards it anymore.
Right. Exactly.
Yep. And that just, and that's how you change those habits, and that's how you change the behavior. You change the emotions towards it. You change the thoughts towards it. And that's really how we grow, mentally, emotionally, like physically. That's literally how we grow. I remember, like, there would be a time where, somebody could, even clients, like, they can just explode and just say all these crazy things. And, it can bring something out of you or a person, and you be like, oh no, I can't. And then where other times where you just like, okay, like, well, let me tell me how that makes you feel when you feel like you got to yell and scream at me. Like, like, what is that doing for you? Like, because I know what it's doing for me, where before you might get a reaction, where now it's just kind of like, my reaction is totally different now because I've already worked through it, like I've worked through that already. So and that was a habit, again, old habits, like, so the fact that I could work through those habits, write them down, understand my emotions behind it, and change the whole behavior, like with that. And now it's not even a habit for me. I have new habits now. My new habit is a whole change behavior. So, and that's really what it's about. It's the changing the thought process, changes that, that subconscious mind, changing that stored memory, that fear, it's no longer fear. It's no longer an anxiety, so that you can change your emotions about the situation and change the behavior.
Amen. I say, yeah. No, listen, that's what it is though, because like that is really, we talking about some life-changing ish, you know what I mean? Talking about like really the work that needs to be done. People don't understand that what you just said is liberating.
Right, exactly.
We think that we have to hold on to these negative emotions forever.
Forever.
Wired that way, or
Nope. I don't like when people say that I'm wired that way. Like, well, you need to cut that wire. Okay, cut the wire.
You need to cut that wire somewhere else, because that's what you're trying to do.
Right. Nope.
But it takes a lot of effort, though. I will say that it takes a lot of effort to do it. And it takes a lot of like consistent effort, and you have to have intrinsic motivation. You have to do it for yourself. It can't just be, Coach Sis or me or somebody else telling you like, hey, you need to get this together, because we are naturalized to our emotions. So we're used to it. It's sometimes, it even feels comfortable to be, in this negative place, right?
Yes, it does.
It's familiar. It's familiar. I'm going to stay there. So on another level, it's like, it's painful to do that much effort to change something. But if you really want, like, it's paradoxical, right? Like, if you want something different, you have to go through that, and then
exactly. That's why I'm like, okay, well, if you really want to make this change, you would do the work. No, because and the thing about it is like it may take some time, but as time goes on, you will notice, you're making a lot of progress. Like you're not doing certain behaviors that added to that big behavior, So, and it's all about time, and it's about progress. Progress does not happen in 3 months. I tell my clients all the time, like, they come to therapy, we do 3 good sessions, they're like, why am I still feeling this way? I'm like, we only have done 3 sessions.
Right. I talked to you 3 times, I barely know your name. Like,
right, exactly. Like, we gonna get there, like,
years and years and years
exactly.
of you developing your subconscious negative mind and your habits and all that stuff, and then you want something done in a couple of days. But people want that, though. That's how it is. Like, people want
they want quick results. They want those quick results.
Because not for nothing, that's what the marketers tell you can happen.
Right, exactly. That's what they tell you.
No life.
15 days. Like, no, you can't.
Come on this weekend, and you're gonna be healed complete. Like, no,
right, exactly.
That's when we do the retreats, when we do our our day or weekend events or whatever. What do? We say, here is trial, free access to the Dollar Growth Club, where we can continue to work with you. Right. We try to feed you into this community because we know that we're going to be here. We're going to show up. We're going to show up every day for you. You know what I mean? And you're going to reap the benefits of that. And eventually, the more that you're a part of this community, you are going to start to see your life shift. But I think that when it happens, it's not like a big explosion. It's like little things over time, incrementally, and you look back and you're like, wow, this year was way different than last year. I feel way different. I don't have the issues I used to have, right? You just one day. Exactly.
And that's what it's about. Like, looking back, a year or years, like, wow, like, I've made some changes. I'm proud of myself. Like, that's what it's about.
Right. So do the people have any homework today?
So yeah, like I was saying, like, I think that, I want everyone to focus on, last week we did more so, like, we talked about, like, the behavior, like, what is it that you're going to do? Like, focusing more so, like, okay, what is this habit that I have? Let me make my tracker to see, kind of like being more aware, right, of the behavior. But this week, I want you to be more aware of the thoughts and the emotions that come with that behavior. Because if you're actually tracking it, if you're actually, noticing how much you're actually doing this, what is those emotions and those thoughts that come with that? Like, and so therefore you can actually sit with it and you can process, like, wow, like, why am I doing this so much? Like, where does that, like, where is that coming from? Like, when I see that I'm actually doing this 5 times a day, and, like, what does that make me feel like after I'm doing it each time, or after I see that I've done it 5 times a day or 10 times a day? Like, where does that make me feel like, and how can I decrease that? And when I do decrease it, like, let's say I did it 10 times today and I do it 8 times tomorrow. Does that change how I feel? Is that bringing up my anxiety? And what am I going to say to myself? Because again, like I said, that subconscious mind is so powerful. So you could be saying, I want to make this change, but then out loud you're saying, this change is so difficult. I just want to have 5 more. I want to do this again. I just want to scream. I just want to punch somebody in the face. Okay, so I want you to understand, process it and write it down, because I really feel like writing things down is a way of releasing. Like, it's just another way of releasing. There's so many different ways that we can release the things that's inside of us. A lot of people be like, oh my God, I don't want to cry. No, cry, let it out. Why hold on to that? Like, so I think it's important to write these things down, because then you can, again, when we talk about going back and looking at the changes, when you go back 6 months from now and you write down and you see what you wrote down, you can say, oh my goodness, like, when I was making this change and now 6 months later, I'm down to doing this thing once a day. 6 months ago, I felt like I was ready to punch somebody in the face, and I do this thing once a day and it don't even faze me, So I want you to really, that's what it's about. It's just recognizing the behavior, but also being aware of the emotions and the thoughts that come with it. So that's what I want. That's the assignment for
today. Gotcha. All right. Well, sis, if you could put that assignment into
I will,
the
yes.
community, and yeah, nice conversation, really good.
Yes.
I'm always like, my mind is always blown by, how negative our subconscious mind is,
Yes.
and how prevalent it is, how it's really the driver in the
It
driver's seat
is.
of our lives. It's crazy to
It's
me.
so crazy. It's very crazy, actually. And when you think about it, that's why I said when I had that realization, I was so disturbed. I'm like, oh no, we're not doing that. We're not about to be negative. Like, let me make sure when I wake up in the morning, every thought is a positive thought. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness. So I like reading these. I love reading books like that check me because I need that too.
Yeah. And yeah, text me that book so we can go ahead and
Yes.
put it on our book club list.
Yep, I will do that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Wellness Wednesday.
Yes.
Have a good Wednesday.
Have a good Wednesday, everyone.
We'll